Hello folks, today I'm going to be painting a pattern of scallops. So I've got my watercolour paper here. This is on a block, but any watercolour paper will do. And yeah, I've got my paints. This started out as a set of Winsor & Newton professional watercolours. I think there were 24 in the set, but I've since added a lot more to them since then. We'll try and remember what I use and mention it as I go along. And then I've got some water, paper towel for washing my brush and dabbing up any excess paint, that sort of thing. I've got some tape handy. I might decide to tape the edges just to give me a nice clean line. And then some tools for drawing. So I've got my trusty metal ruler, mechanical pencil, but any pencil will work. I just like a mechanical one. The really ugly putty eraser, and then a pair of compasses for drawing nice circles. I've also got this to try. I've got this out. I will probably use it at the end, but I'm going to give it a test first because it's brand new. I've not used it and I don't know what it's going to look like. So it's a gold marker pen. So we will see. Right, let's clear some space and I'll start drawing. So I've got to decide how big I want my pattern to be, and it depends on the size of your paper. So the paper I've got here is 20 by 20 centimetres. I'm going to use my little cross method to find the centre of it. So by putting the ruler in each corner and marking the centre. But also this paper is really nice and square, so it just measures 20 centimetres across, so you could just measure 10 centimetres in and 10 centimetres down. I do want to mark 10 centimetres down where I'm going to put my horizontal line in. This just means that it's going to be straight on the paper rather than a bit wonky. And I'm going to line that mark with the centre of the page. And then I want to get the vertical line going this way as well. So what I need to do is I need to find a mark and measure equidistant from the centre in both directions along here. So I'm going to start with 8 centimetres there, put that one there, and then put this one at 16. So it doesn't matter what those marks are, it just matters that they're the same distance away from the centre. And then I'm going to take my compasses and make them nice and wide. Doesn't matter how wide, as long as they're wider than the centre. Although if I can get them a bit wider, they'll be a bit more accurate. I put the point of the compass on one of those marks that I made, and then I just make a little arc directly above where my centre point is, and then the same again below the centre point like that. And then I move the point of the compass to the other mark like that, and mark there and there. This should give me 3 points that are all in a line, and I should be able to use those, line them all up, and get a nice vertical line down the page. So then the scallop design is all made up of circles. So you can decide what size you want your circles to be. So let's see, if I go for 3 centimetres wide, my scallops are going to be 6 centimetres wide. So 6 there, and then do I have room for 6 that way? So I've got 1, 2, 3 centimetres out, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to take me to 1 centimetre from the edge, which is okay. I can cope with that, that's fine. So yeah, so let's go with that one. Obviously, if you're working more in inches, then you can do your measurements in inches, and you might want to think about, say if you did 1 inch for your compass diameter, compass radius, then your scallops are going to be 2 inches wide, and then you're going to get 3 of them across the page, and that'll be 6 inches. So again, it depends on the size of your paper, how many scallops you want to make. And then I'm going to put the point of the compasses right in the centre where my lines cross, and draw a circle. So this is going to be my first scallop, so the top of the circle there is going to be the first line, and then I want a line that comes in and there and in there. So I'm going to need to put my compasses here and draw a line that way. So I need a point here that's going to be the centre of the next circle. I need one here, and I'll also need ones here and here, because they're going to be the centres of the circles for the next row of scallops. Now the way that I can find those is using where the circle crosses the line and make a mark on either side. Do the same at each of the 4 points of that initial circle. And that should give me 4 crosses, and those are the centre points for the next circles that I need to make. So I can check whether it should meet the line there. If it doesn't, bring it up a tiny bit. There we go, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this line is going to be the line of the central scallop on the page. I should be able to get 1 above it, 1 below it, and then I should be able to get 2 more to the sides. So I can do the same thing again, putting the point of the compass here and marking out on the line, and that should give me the centre point for this next circle here. Same on this side, that's the centre point for my next circle, and then the same up and down. So you need to ignore these crosses because these aren't in the right place. It's tempting to think that they might be, but they could be anywhere up and down this vertical line. They don't necessarily need to coincide with the centres of these circles. So I need to make that extra mark, put the point of my compass there, and make that set of circles. So I need 4 more full circles here, 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 and here, and I do those in the same way that I do this. So I'll put the point of the compass here, mark there, point of the compass there, mark there, and then that gives me the centre for the top circle here. Same on this side. This one seems a little low, so I'm just going to do it again. Rub all that out, and then this time I'm going to check. And then this scallop is complete because I can see the bottom 2 edges and the top. This one is not because I can't see the bottom 2 edges. Similarly, this one I need the top edge here, but I need a curve here and here. So I need to go around the outside and put in extra points and extra curves to get the scallop shape that I need. So I'm going to extend my central line just to meet the edges of the circles. So let's work through them. So this one here, it's got the top line and it's got this line here, but I need a line here. So I need a point that's a here that is going to be where the centre of that circle is. But I'm not going to draw the whole circle this time. I just need a quarter of it. That doesn't look very accurate, so I'm going to rub that out and try again. see, it's always good if you've knocked your compasses to check whether they're the same size, and I've dropped my compasses, so now they're not the same size. So that's why that corner was a little bit out. So let's go back to the central one and just move the pencil back in line and then do that all again. And that line looks a lot better. I need to do this one over here, so I'll do that in the same way. So where the centre line meets the circle, line out from there. Line out from where these 3 circles meet. And there, that's my next scallop. These ones down here, they've got the top. I need a line here and a line there. And the same on this side. And then the bottom row. I need a mark in the corner. That's going to be difficult to get until I've got the rest of the marks in. So let's start with this one. I know I need a point here, so I can go from there and from the central line, and that should give me the bottom corners of these 2 scallops, and then that gives me a line there. I can mark out that way, but I need a line from here as well, so I'm going to have to, I don't need to draw the whole thing, but I can just make a mark there and use that to measure down to the bottom corner, draw the last one in. Same for this side, so I'm going to have to mark. Again, I don't need to draw the whole curve on this side, but I do need this mark here on the side of the circle, so I can measure down to the bottom corner. I'm going to need a mark here, so I can measure out that way. I can measure out from the centre, and I can make this half circle here. I can use where that one joins the last circle to mark into the corner, and that's going to give me my final line that I need. So I think that's all the drawing that I need to do. Now what I'm going to do is clear out all of the marks that I don't need. So I've got my eraser, and I'm going to use it carefully to rub out any of the little crosses, because I don't want those. And also I want to go through each of the scallops and remove the lines that I don't want. So this one's fairly straightforward. So I've got the one at the top, and then I've got 2 lines coming down. I've got a bit of ghosting where I put that scallop line in the wrong place, and I've got the cross in the centre. But the rest of it is pretty much okay. If you rub out too much of your line, you can go over it with a pencil and put it back in. Or you can go back over it with your compasses and reinforce them, as long as you haven't rubbed away the central points that you need. For things like this is more difficult, so what I can do is I can take a little bit of my putty rubber and pull it off, and that allows me to get into really small spaces. And what I want to do is to remove the top 2 kind of inward curving lines and a little cross. And tearing away a little bit of the eraser allows me to get really tight into those corners and remove pencil lines that's really quite close to the line that I want. And then bits here I might just go over the whole thing and then put the line that I want back in like that. Right, now time to paint. And I'm going to do each of the scallops a different sort of greeny blue. And what I want to do is I want a nice brush that's got a point that can get really into as far down here as I can get. So I've got a fairly small brush really, this is a size 6 for painting kind of big areas, but I do want that nice fine point on it, so that's why I'm using a smaller brush than you could really get away with. So I've got loads of greens and blues in here already. This is some indigo, so I'm just going to add a little bit more water into that. Get a bit more of that going. This is Winsor blue, which is more of a warm blue. And then I've got some Mayan blue genuine. There's not very much left in here. That's a Daniel Smith colour, and it's got some granulation in it, which means that it settles with a kind of bit of texture to it. And I don't mind if they bleed together because I want just variations of colour. I may end up, I think I'm going to turn the page so that I can paint into the corners and away. So let's start with this one. So this is this Mayan blue, and I want it dark at the bottom, at the base, and then I'm going to add water to it and pull the paint away from that section. So another dollop of water, spread it out further. More water, spread it out, and then lots of water at the end. And I'm being quite careful just to go up to the line there, like that. Now I do want it darker at this end, so I'm going to get a nice bit of concentrated colour on my brush. And just while it's still wet, I'm just going to dab it in there. I'm going to be quite careful because it's quite a small area that I'm dabbing into. And then I can dot it in and move it around so I get a nice kind of concentrated dark area of colour at the base. And I can move it back into the wet area. And it should spread out quite nicely. I can go in again because the colour all kind of, it moves around and spreads out. Go in and dab even more dark area at the bottom there. I can't paint this one because this edge is still wet, so I don't want to ruin that edge. I could paint this one. I'll have to be careful not quite to go up to the wet area here, otherwise I'll get all of that water and the pale colour going into the next area. So for this one I think I'm going to do more of that warm blue. It's mixed a little bit with the indigo, but that's okay, that's good. A little bit of colour mixing is great. And again I can go in with a nice dark point of my brush, filled with lots of colour, and then just begin to move that colour backwards. Add water as I go to make it lighter and lighter as it gets towards the edge. I'm using cotton paper here, which means that my paint stays wet for quite a long time, which gives me a lot of time to work and go back into that dark area. But if you're not, you may want to do it fairly quickly. Make sure it's nice and dark there before it kind of all spreads out. Sort of dotting it in, and it's sort of spreading and fading nicely. And then I can go back to the water and add just the lightest hint of colour around the edge. Okay, so again I can't do this one, but I can do that one, and I think I'm going for more of a greeny blue on this one. So I've got this kind of palette section here that's got various different blues in it. It's got some lunar blue, which is this kind of grey. Oh, that was indigo. Okay, never mind, we'll go with indigo then. Yeah, they're very similar, but lunar blue has a lot more granulation. It's a bit more grey side. And then we can add green into it. I've got some Perylene green here, which is a nice dark green. And that should give me a really kind of rich, deep, bluey green colour. So that's looking nice and dark there. So again, a bit more water on my brush without rinsing off too much of the colour. Just making it nice and wet and increasing the amount of water on my brush just to lighten up the mix as we bring it further and further out. Okay, and I think we can go even more green for this one. So in here I'm going to mix some Perylene green, which is that nice dark green, with some olive green, and that's going to go in this one. Of course you can do whatever colours you like in this. You can make a really bright one. You can do really muted colours. It's whatever you fancy. I think I want to add a little bit more blue into here as we go further out, so I'm just swiping into that mix that I've made there. Just make the greens sit better with the blue, I think. So I'm going to speed this all up and I'll catch you up again at the end. Okay, all nice and dry. I've got my pen to try out, and then what I can do is now that this is all done, I can just go around and make sure that all of the pencil marks are removed. Right, what I think I'm going to do is kind of do like little lines coming in from the edge of each scallop. I think it'll look nice and like Art Deco-y, which I think these colours work with. I was thinking of doing like lines out from the bottom, but I reckon that's going to completely cover up a lot of the colour at the bottom, which I want, and I want to be able to see it. So I was thinking a little line of lines around the edge of each scallop would look good. Now, you could just do this freehand, you could do it by eye. I think I might use the compasses to draw a little line, so I'm going to need to make it a little bit smaller. So it's currently on 3 centimetres. So if I set it to 2, that should give me a centimetre all around the edge of each one. I could even do 1.5. There, that would be better, I think. Now, the difficulty now is finding the mark, which we've rubbed out and painted over. But you should be able to kind of move your compass point around and you'll be able to find the hole that it was in. There, so that one, I can find the hole and just draw me a little guideline. Having looked at that, I think a centimetre might be better. So yeah, so let's go for 2, set it at 2 centimetres. Again, each one I'm going to try and find the little hole there that my compass point went into the first time when I drew the scallop, and then draw me a little guideline. I'm going to do that for all of them, and then I'll come in with the pen. Right, so it would make sense to start up here, but for the camera I'm going to start in the middle. So I'm going to start by doing a vertical line down the centre. I'm going to do the lines at the side, and then halfway between, and I'm trying to sort of angle these out so it looks like they're coming from the centre and twisting outwards. And you don't need to be exact with the measurements, but I find that if I start at one side and then go around to the other, then what happens is that everything looks a little bit distorted. If I do it this way and sort of imagine there's a line coming from there, a line coming from here, and then that one, and then this one, gives me sort of even sections, and then what I can do is fill in those sections with lines. And that should give me a nice even look all the way around. And if I've got some areas where there are bigger gaps between my lines than others, that's okay, because they're essentially going to be, because I've done those sections, they're going to sort of look okay. And a little bit of variation in the thickness of the lines or the distance between them is going to be fine. But I didn't start out doing them really close together and then get further apart, because I've got little sections and I'm filling in between the sections. You get a gap like this, you try and wonder whether you could fit 2 in or 1, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes you'll fit 2, sometimes you'll fit 1, they'll even themselves out. Right, that's one done. There's a little bit of shine on the gold, not a lot, but I'm going to keep going and finish the whole page. Right, so there we go, we're all finished. So the pen is a little bit shiny. It's not terribly shiny, but then watercolour's very absorbent. Watercolour paper, I mean, is very absorbent, so it's a hard test for a shiny pen. It's a nice, it's not very bright, but it's a nice colour. It's sort of bronzy. Yeah, I always feel like the test of a marker pen is not whether it performs well on the first time, it's whether I can pick it up in a week or a few months or even a couple of years and it still work, because I've had quite a few paint markers that I've really liked when I've had them out of the box, but then you go back to them a week later and they're all gummed up and not working, and yeah, so we'll see. I might have to come back in a couple of years and I'll report on how it's done. But yeah, so that's for now. This is my little watercolour painting, slightly Art Deco style, scallop shapes, and some nice blues and greens. So I hope that you have fun time playing with this. So I've been playing with scallop shapes quite a bit recently, and this is a project that I've been doing over on Ko-fi. So that's my membership supporters platform. So these are snowdrops, and I thought I'd use the scallop shape to repeat it. I've got a whole video on this, how I made this pattern. That's over on Ko-fi, so it's exclusive to my supporters over there. So if you're interested, there'll be a link in the description. You can go and check that out. But thanks very much for watching today. If you've had fun with this, if you give it a go, I'd really like to see what you've made. If you post it to Instagram, tag me at Lou Rachel Davis, and then I'll get a notification to let me know. So take care, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks, bye bye.